Hello and welcome. You're watching Reality Check. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. We come to you on a day when numbers are going up. We're talking about COVID figures. It's not just the cases, it's also the deaths that are rising. And in middle of all of this, our vaccination somehow lagging behind. What is the reason behind that? Is it time to open vaccination for all? And is it that only 2 players are going to be vaccinating most of our population? Well, the news at the hour is that there are 2 more players who are ready to jump into the vaccine race, at least in the country. We're talking about Sputnik V, Russia's vaccine, and then there is Johnson & Johnson. On the program, we'll be talking and raising the issue of whether it's time to open up vaccination for all of the country. And also, first up, let's bring you this exclusive interview. Now, the Russian Direct Investment Fund, which is also Russia's sovereign wealth fund, and Strides, the global pharmaceutical company headquartered right here in the country, they have partnered to produce and supply a minimum of 200 million doses of the Russian Sputnik V vaccine against coronavirus. Now, supply is set to be ready from the 4th quarter this year itself, and this will add to more than the 100 million doses already planned from other Indian manufacturers. So it is good news all the way for India and for the world as well. And for more on that, we are joined now by the CEO of Russian Direct Investment Fund, Kirill Dmitriev. He's the head of the Russian Direct Investment Fund and financed the development of the Sputnik V as well. He joins us live from Moscow now. Welcome to NDTV, or should I say welcome to India now. First up, I just wanted to understand from you, Kirill, 252 million shots of Sputnik V from the 4th quarter, like you said, quite an ambitious target. So you're clearly looking at not just providing these vaccines for India, but for the globe.
Yes, definitely. So first of all, we are great and very happy about our partnership with India. We believe that India is really a vaccine hub for the world, and we actually hope to produce more than 500 million doses of Sputnik V in India this year, and we will announce later on in the next couple of weeks about additional partnerships. But I think it's very significant, the partnership we announced today, because we believe that India is really a true hub of the vaccines, not only for Sputnik, but also for other manufacturers. And this is great that you build this great manufacturing capacity in India to really help to produce vaccine for India and to export it outside.
Well, that's true. So more manufacturers and more collaborations coming up. So that's big news at the moment. But obviously the question here is, when we talk about the timeline, and how soon do you plan to get the regulatory and the drug regulatory clearance here in the country? What's happening on that front?
Well, we hope to receive it actually within the next couple of weeks. Our partner, Dr. Reddy, is working very closely with the regulator. The results of some of the clinical trials have been submitted. So we expect the approval shortly. And we really believe in this great partnership with India because you just mentioned previously about mutations. We believe that Sputnik V works very well against different mutations. We proved that it's as efficient against British strain as against the previous original coronavirus. So we believe we'll work together with India very closely, and the approval will hopefully come in the next couple of weeks.
Sure. It's interesting you spoke about Dr. Reddy working very closely with the drug regulator, because if I remember correctly, it was in February where he actually approached the drug controller seeking emergency authorization. It wasn't granted then. What happened?
Well, I think, again, regulator is just asking to have all of the information. Our vaccine is already approved in 52 countries in the world. So today, Philippines approved it already. So it definitely, has got approval in all of the key markets. We have no doubt that India regulator will approve. We have great dialogue with them and with the Indian government. And again, we are not rushing this. We want to make sure that the Indian regulator is, positive. We've done the clinical trials in India to show that the vaccine works very well in India, and the results are very spectacular. So once again, we expect the approval very shortly, and I'm very happy with the professionalism of the Indian regulator we see.
Were there any specific concerns that the regulator talked about, some more data, additional data that they require at that point?
No, not really, just more standard information that we have provided to 52 other countries. So once again, really no concerns. Sputnik vaccination is going very successfully not only in Russia, but also in Argentina, in United Arab Emirates and Mexico, in many countries. So frankly, we are one of the 3 vaccines in the world with efficacy more than 90%. We have partnership with AstraZeneca to give them our shot to increase efficacy of their vaccine. So we really is one of the best vaccines in the world, and we'll work very closely with India for sure.
Right. And just to sort of apprise my viewers of where Sputnik V is actually placed at the moment, the efficacy is about 91.6%. It's a 2-shot vaccine, can be stored at regular refrigerator levels, and the tech is human, the adenoviral vectors. It costs about $10 per shot is what we've been hearing from you. Any news on what the pricing could look like in India?
Well, again, we have the same price for all of the countries in the world, and we've been consistent. I think there are some discussions going on with Indian government about, vaccine produced in India. But so far, we have the same price in all of the countries in the world. And frankly, again, we applaud what Serum Institute has done in India to make vaccine very affordable. We see that Sputnik and AstraZeneca vaccine and, of course, Bharat vaccine are some of the most affordable vaccines in the world. And they cost, 2-3 times less than some of the US vaccines. And I think affordability is very important to really have successful world vaccines.
Right. So let me also just put this out for the benefit of our viewers. You were one of the first vaccines to get registered against coronavirus, right? The efficacy of Sputnik V, like you said, with the data published at Lancet, one of the world's most oldest and most respected medical journals. In fact, important to highlight that Sputnik is one of the 3 vaccines in the world with efficacy over 90%. Then, why do you think that there was this initial skepticism over the vaccine, say, over the Western formulas?
Well, I think, first of all, the skepticism is gone because some people just tried not to make Sputnik successful, but following results of the Lancet and successful vaccination, there is no more skepticism. I think the only questions that people are asking is about production of Sputnik, and here we have great partners.
But why do you think it existed in the first place?
Well, frankly, there are big pharma companies who are not very happy about some of the competitors that are coming to the world. But we believe that all of the different producers should work together, as we have a partnership with AstraZeneca. So we believe some players wanted to contain Russia, wanted to limit Sputnik V from accessing the world. But we just want to be one of the players. In none of the countries we can serve more than 25% of the population. So we are just part of the total portfolio solution. And frankly, all of the skepticism is gone. You see very positive reaction even from Europe and Germany, and Chancellor Merkel has been very positive. Places that have traditionally been skeptical a bit about, cooperation with Russia.
Sure. Let me, Carol, put you in a bit of a spot right now. When you talk about India, and you know that we have other Indian vaccines here as well. There is Johnson & Johnson already in the pipeline, just like you, waiting for approval. How do you think Sputnik V actually fares against the other 2 Indian vaccines?
Well, first of all, I think we have great cooperation with AstraZeneca. And we believe that, given our shot to AstraZeneca vaccine, will make it more efficient. Johnson & Johnson, frankly, is just the first shot of Sputnik. So it's very straightforward. It's adenovirus 26, which is the first shot of Sputnik, and we will, work on that basis. And we believe it shouldn't be a competition of vaccine. There is, by the way, Serum Institute said this great point about vaccine really being in short supply for the next 2 years. So we have to understand vaccine is scarce. India is really a hub for the world for production of vaccines, and we should all work together. And we respect all of the other vaccines. They have done very well. They're saving lives, and we should be partners. And Sputnik V is open to give our shots to all of the other vaccine manufacturers if they want. It should be a spirit of partnerships and cooperation, and we see great results of Indian vaccines. It's great that India is doing so well on its vaccination.
All right, looking forward to that. Last question. Lots of stories doing the rounds regarding the name behind the Russian vaccine as well. Please explain to our viewers, where did the name Sputnik V actually come from? What does it stand for?
Well, we believe it's, one of the most recognized names. We've just done a poll. We'll share the results next week that 75% of the world population already heard about Sputnik V vaccine. And it just shows that Russia is an innovative player, country that contributed a lot, not only to space exploration, but also to immunology and other areas. And we are proud of Russian contribution, just as India should be proud of its contributions. And I think we should all respect one another and respect that Sputnik has been a great success before, and Sputnik V is a great success now.
All right, V for victory, as they say. Well, congratulations to you and good luck for the times ahead. Let's see, couple of weeks is what we are hearing at the moment from the drug regulator. Let's see what happens next. Thanks for speaking with NDTV.
Thank you so much.
All right, so what's the story here? We now have more vaccines that are required to actually inoculate the entire population. So what is India really waiting for at a time when the daily cases are rising, where the positivity rate in India is escalating at a much higher rate compared to the world, even compared to US? Why can't we really open up vaccination for all? Well, that's the question we're taking to our panel today. We've got Dr. Hemant Deshmukh joining us. He's the Dean of the KEM Hospital in over there. We've got in Mumbai, we've got Nitin Sood joining us. He's Director for Hemato-Oncology and Stem Cell Transplant. He's the Medical and Oncologist for the Cancer Institute as well. Thanks for giving us your time. And we have Dr. Padma Srivastava, Chief Neuroscience Center at AIIMS, and she took the third trial as well for that vaccine. Let me first go to Dr. Deshmukh. Dr. Deshmukh, you're sitting somewhere which has today yet again seen a spike, has broken the past record since we are told last October at least, numbers in Mumbai are going up. The question that comes to mind is that why are we only vaccinating those above 60 and those above 45? When clearly the virus spread is happening to those much younger, to those who are on the local trains, to those who have no choice but to go to work. What is the deal over here, and do you think that is where the solution lies at the moment to the spike that we are seeing? Dr. Deshmukh.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah, because I just heard the question in pieces, but what I can make out from the question is why there is increase in the number of cases and why the vaccination cannot be opened up to people who are more
Should it be opened up for all?
Yeah, should be opened up for all. Now, as you realize, for the last 1 year, we have been doing a lot of number crunching for all the patients who have been admitted in critical situations as well as critical beds of all the hospitals in Mumbai, and we have come to the conclusion that this disease is not immune to age, and anybody above the age of 35 years is likely to get COVID irrespective of what his age is, irrespective of what the comorbidities are. So the number of doses will dictate the number of beneficiaries that this vaccination drive can undertake. So the highest group, that is the most vulnerable group, more than 60 years, the number of case fatalities amongst plus 60 are much higher than anybody between 35 to 49 or 35 to 59 age group.
I get that, but what I'm trying to understand from you is the current spike that we are seeing again in states like Maharashtra, Punjab, Gujarat, Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, etc., all pole-bound states, mind you, as well, where it's only going to escalate. Isn't it time that the younger population needs to be inoculated as well?
Yeah, definitely. What we are trying to do is we are increasing the ratio of an index case to the number of tracing that we are undertaking. So when we say tracing for each positive contact, it should be at least 15 to 20 people who need to be traced. Bombay being, people run around for their jobs, and during the tracing period, this either pre-symptomatic or asymptomatic contacts or high-risk contacts are not available at home, or maybe their telephone calls are not actually reachable to people who are trying to trace them. So these people who are very high contacts definitely don't get administered any kind of advice from the war rooms that we have created.
At the end of the day, they can turn out to be super spreaders as well, right? And they might come out of it early. Let me bring in Dr. Srivastav over here. Dr. Srivastav, let me put out a graphic for the benefit of our viewers as well, just to look at the comparison to Now, there is no doubt about the fact that India is the vaccine hub for the world now, right? Let's put out that graphic where we talk about how much of consumption of vaccine is happening within the country compared to what we are sending out. Now, look at that graphic. There is a more than half of the vaccines that are being produced here and at the cost of the taxpayers going outside the country. Don't you think this is something which should actually be exhausted within?
Yeah, so Sonal, you actually, I think, hit the right button. I also feel that I think most of us do agree that we now have to expand the vaccine usage and rollout to people irrespective of, the age of 45 or less than 45, all the young people out there, because as you said, they could be super spreaders. Yes, they could also be infected. It is true that they may not be in that rung of being most vulnerable or most likely to have a bad outcome, because the initial rollout did take into consideration what was important in terms of demand and supply that we had, that the most important frontline who are going to get and who have to be there as frontline to be able to deal with the crisis, they can't go down. The second was, of course, the ones that would get the disease and would have a bad outcome. Said that though, now that we have enough experience in the rollout scheme, and we now have to balance out the demand and supply, and I think the demand has grown. With this second wave hitting us, we have to roll it out. I also would strongly believe that it has to go down to, the irrespective, and we also having now more data coming in that it is pretty much safe. Pregnancy, lactating mothers and children are not immune to the disease or to a bad outcome. Said that, therefore, we need to have these vaccines rolled out to all. And if you're looking at the domestic versus the export,
maybe, I think that's where the spike is happening at the moment. But you talked about the safety of the vaccine, and that's a very important point when it comes down to actually having people come on board. And let me bring in Nitin Sood on that one. There have been a lot of concerns regarding, no matter what the organizations say at this point, even world, there are at least over 20 countries which paused inoculating people from the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. There were too many questions about clotting, etc. At this point, can you just once and for all just make that clear to us? What, in your opinion, is the entire deal with clotting when it comes to these vaccines? And, we have the response from AstraZeneca where they say this could happen in any normal situation as well. The question then is, why is it not happening to the other vaccine brands? Why only Oxford AstraZeneca, Covishield as it's called in the country?
Sonal, you use the right word. It's been paused in, and it started with the Danish countries, and it's been paused now in many European countries. But if you look at EMA's yesterday's statement, they've said they've had a preliminary look and they don't find any link between the vaccine or any possible link between the vaccine and the thrombotic events. So what you have to realize here is that thrombosis is something that happens in the background population anyway. So the risk of thrombosis in the background population, we understand, is about a 1 in 1,000 risk. So thrombosis happens all the time. Now, from what I can estimate or guess, what has happened is we've looked very carefully at people who've gotten vaccinated and then found that 30 people or 35 people or people have got the thrombotic event.
In, say, Pfizer, for example? Which
honestly, I don't know the answer.
In a comparison, inoculated more people across the globe than AstraZeneca.
Yeah, that is a possibility, but honestly, I don't know the answer to that question. And I looked very hard to see why or where this started from, because it started from the Danish countries. I looked at the Danish Health Authority website, and they've just kind of put it out there that there's reported cases possibly linked and possibly not linked, and which is why they've paused, which means they're just going to look at it very carefully. But look, here's the deal. This doesn't help us as doctors in motivating our patients to get vaccinated. And vaccine hesitancy is something...
WHO said, the benefits over here outweigh the risk, and that's why people should go out and get themselves inoculated anyways. Let me give the last word to Dr. Srivastav as well. Dr. Srivastav, at this time when we know that there are 2 vaccines in the country already, there are 2 more in the pipeline. You just heard from Sputnik V. We know Johnson & Johnson is also waiting over there. Would you say that amongst your interaction with people, people are ready to take the vaccine? Once we open it for all, you'll see a lot more walk-ins, you will see a lot more people come out and say, just inoculate me and, let's just get on with life then?
I firmly believe this is going to happen, Sonal. I firmly believe that if you're going to roll it out more openly, more centers, and, not have, so many restrictions, then I think, and as, it's been said before that the vaccine hesitancy will only go if we don't keep on reporting that somebody has a clot, somebody has a this, because the even time and again it has come that the percentage of those who are vaccinated to the percentage of those side effects is absolutely minimal. So I think when you roll it out, Sonal, I firmly believe there will be more people coming and queuing up and taking the vaccine. I think it should be rolled out much more in general and much more faster now.
Right.
Because that's the only big weapon now we have in our armamentarium for the wave now. As against the Spanish flu, at least we have now a vaccine. I think we can now contain, and that's the only big weapon. We still don't have a drug to cure COVID. So I think the vaccine is the biggest weapon we have, and it should be rolled out.
Okay, last 30 seconds to Dr. Deshmukh over there. Doc, what is your understanding of what's happening in Mumbai at the moment? Do you think if it is opened and if the government, if the central government sort of gives clearance to the states, we know that the Delhi Chief Minister has already asked for vaccine for all. He's actually increased the time limit for vaccination as well. Delhi is the only state in the country which is vaccinating from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. saying just if you're ready, if you fall in the category, come and we will vaccinate you. In fact, he's gone ahead to say that within 3 months, he's ready to vaccinate the entire capital. Is that the way forward and the messaging that we need from the other states as well, especially Maharashtra?
Yes, Sonal, there are 2 things here. One is vaccination is going to be an exit strategy for COVID-19 as everybody understands. And secondly, today we have opened almost 134 private hospitals within the state of Maharashtra for vaccinating. And the time limit has been extended from 8 o'clock in the morning to evening 8 o'clock. So if the center gives a nod to this 12-hour vaccination drive, I think Maharashtra is geared up to exit this COVID-19 by just vaccinating as many people, as many beneficiaries as possible, not necessarily only the high-risk group.
All right, good luck to all those involved in the process and to everybody waiting in the wings as well to get themselves vaccinated. We only hope the government is listening in. This is clearly the need of the hour. Thanks so much for your views. That's all we have on Reality Check. Good night.